Today we're crafting a complete journal from scratch featuring the Digital Collage Club's latest stunning Autumnal kit and exploring the Inkslinger binding technique for the first time. Excited? So am I! Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. Since this is a design team project for the Digital Collage Club, let me introduce you to the gorgeous download called Foraging Time Journal Pages I've selected for this journal. For those who may be new here, the Digital Collage Club is an exclusive membership-based website offering a vast collection of royalty-free digital craft supplies. When you sign up for either a yearly or lifetime membership, you gain instant access to a treasure trove of unique images and resources. Every week, new images are added, providing you with fresh inspiration. And the best part is you can even sell the craft items you create using these images. So let's talk about the membership options available. So you can choose between a 1-year membership or a lifetime membership. So with the lifetime option, you pay once and gain unlimited access to all the images and tutorials for a lifetime. In the video description box, you'll find discount codes for both membership types. I want to mention that if you use these links and codes, I receive a commission which greatly supports my small creative business. So thank you so much if you decide to sign up or have already joined in the past using my link. Just a reminder, to receive the discounts, be sure to use the provided links below. Thank you so much for considering the Digital Collage Club and supporting my creative journey. So I have an Epson EcoTank inkjet printer with the number ET5850, which has 2 drawers. And for this printer, I first print half of the pages on one side of the paper. Then I turn them 180 degrees, print it side up, and feed them into the drawer again to print on the second side. Please check how it works on your printer, as they don't all work in this way. So this is how the papers came out once they are printed on both sides of the paper. As you can see, I always printed 2 images on one page to shrink them down to 50%. Then I stack them up and cut them all at once using my large paper trimmer. This is of course super fast. Alternatively, you can cut all the white edges off with your scissors. And for some reason, when I print JPEGs, when I select to print borderless, my printer will make the white edges more narrow, but will not get rid of them completely. And if I print from my photo editing software from a PNG format, it works just fine. Then I always make sure to print best quality. And as you can see here with the layout, I'm choosing to print 2 images on one page. Next, I inked up all of the edges on both sides, giving the pages a beautiful vintage distressed look. Finally, I folded each page using my little vintage iron, which I found at a thrift shop here in Vienna. So in total, I have 12 double pages, and I chose 12 because I needed an even number to divide my signatures into. So my plan is to have 4 signatures, and they will have 3 of these prints in each signature. And I'm going to combine them with some beautiful vintage papers. I received these from Anna, so thank you again so much, Anna. These are absolutely gorgeous. So now I just need to tear these up to be this size or smaller. And there's such a great mixture here. This is German, and this has such beautiful old paper. Listen to the sound. That is pure magic. Then we have some English here. We have some Hungarian and some French. So this is going to be a very international journal. So once I have all my vintage ephemera in the right size, I'm going to add some interest by using some stencils. And I have chosen mostly ones that are kind of nature themed, so florals. I do also have some words and numbers. They're so eclectic and will go with everything. Same with this flourish stencil. We have flowers, more flowers. Then I have these leaves, and this big leaf, this might be actually too big, we'll see. I have some feathers. I have these dragonflies here, and I have some more leaves. And the way I'm choosing what colors to use for my stencils is by looking through the printed images and looking at what colors I have in here and what would work best with these colors. So these are the ones I came up with. So we have 5 different colors. These 2 are inks, these 3 are oxides. It doesn't matter which is which. These 2 I don't have in oxides, but for what I'm doing, it totally doesn't matter whether it's an ink or an oxide. So I have Wild Honey, Rusty Hinge, Crackling Campfire, Speckled Egg, and Forest Moss. And if you don't have any distress inks or oxides, you can obviously just do this with acrylic paints. I'm going to use these makeup brushes. And I'm going to start off with a dragonfly in Wild Honey. And the reason why I'm not using sprays for this is because these vintage papers are usually quite thin. And so if I spray on one side, it will probably go through to the other side. We might even see this going through, but definitely not as much as if we use the sprays. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's nothing, so that's awesome. We could even add another one, right? And we could take Rusty Hinge for that one. Okay. And since dragonflies are super special, I think it needs to be embossed. So I'm going to try my Distressed Embossing Glaze Fossilized Amber. So I'll put the stencil back over my dragonfly, and then I'll use my embossing dabber and go over it. Never tried that before, but I'm thinking, why not? Gorgeous. And I love how we can still see the writing through the dragonfly. So I also want to do this for this one. I'll let this cool down first. Then I can place my stencil over the other one. Use the dabber. And for that one, I'm going to use Rusty Hinge embossing glaze. And then I'm going to gently clean my stencil because the embossing ink is quite sticky. I don't really care about the ink on it. Next, I'll use this feather stencil. I think this one might be from Amazon. I don't know the brand. It doesn't have anything on it. So if you look for feather stencil on Amazon, you might be able to find this. I'm going to use Forest Moss, or actually, why don't I do a combination? I'll do Forest Moss down here. Because feathers, of course, always look nice if you have a color variation. Then I'll take some Rusty Hinge. And when you use soft brushes like this, they blend nicely. Then let's do some Speckled Egg. And on the very tip, let's do some Crackling Campfire. Cute! I found this leaf one at a craft flea market a few years ago. So again, unfortunately, no idea what company this is. Again, it doesn't say anything on it. And I want to use these fall colors. So let's start out with some crackling campfire. I think I'm just going to add these more or less randomly. Then let's do some rusty hinge and some wild honey. And let's do this little one as well. Next, I'm going to use this beautiful Flourish stencil by Tim Holtz. The number is THS032. And I'm using Speckled Egg. Definitely want a light color for this. And I think I'll put it pretty much on the whole paper. And now I'm thinking maybe I'll add a greenish color, maybe some peeled paint. That's such a gorgeous green. Just in some areas to give it a bit of variation. Oh yeah, that came out very pretty. But it really needed that green. Next, I'll add this rose, and this stencil is from Action. I'm going to stick with the peeled paint. I realized maybe it would have made more sense to do the rose in the crackling campfire, but somehow I like it that it's green. I'll make the inside a bit darker. Next, I'm going to use this one by Tim Holtz. It has a number THS05. And I'm going to use Crackling Campfire. Let's be bold. Love it. This one is again from Action, and I'm using Forest Moss. Next, I'll use this gorgeous one, again Tim Holtz, with the number THS143. And I'll use Speckled Egg. For this dragonfly, I'm introducing a new color, Pumice Stone. I'll use that for the body. And I'll use Speckled Egg for the wings. Next, I'm using another Tim Holtz stencil. This has the number THS035. I'll use a combination of Rusty Hinge and Crackling Campfire. And for this last one, I'm going to use this one. This is again from Action, and I'll use peeled paint. So once I have all these pages decorated, I can now start assembling my signatures. So 3 of these per signature, and it doesn't really matter in what order I put these, because since they're from the same kit, obviously they're all going to work together. So I'll start off by just putting 3 of these into each other. Just double check that that will actually work, and I would say it does. So let's do that first with all of these. This is of course one of my favorite pages. Maybe each of them should have one of the people in it. This one, for example, is super cute. So that's 2. And then we have a little boy here. And this lady. 3. And we have these 2 in here. 4. So each of these signatures will get 3 of these papers. They each get 1 of these here, so that's pretty easy. Let's start off with the dragonfly. Actually, first I should think about which one I want as my first signature. Maybe this one here with the girl. So let's add the dragonfly. Then let's add this eclectic one. Look how gorgeous these go together, which doesn't really matter because we won't see them together really. And for the middle, don't want to add more dragonflies. How about this feather? And let's turn this to the other direction so that we actually see the feather in the middle. So that is signature 1. So I'll do the same thing for the others. These 2 are obviously too tall. Didn't do a good job measuring, so I need to trim those down a little bit. These currently have 6 pages per signature and they seem a little bit flimsy, so I wanted to add some more papers and I've already torn these down to size. These were gifted to me. They're absolutely gorgeous. So this is coffee dyeing through stencils. Really, really cute. And these are my own coffee dyed papers. The yellow that you see here on these papers, also here, is from this Wild Honey Distress Stain. And then I have these 2, which are also from my own paper dyeing. So I'm just going to distribute these. So each signature will get 3 of these papers. Okay, that already feels better. I think I need to cut these doilies. This will be an open spine binding, so I want to ink up these edges as well. I'll use my walnut stain for that. So next we're going to create the cover from scratch. So I have these 2 panels here. These are from packaging. They are quite thick. They are very sturdy. So if you don't have any really sturdy cardboard, maybe you can glue 2 or 3 layers together, maybe of a pizza box or something like that. So my sweet friend Maureen, hi sweetie, sent me an Instagram reel of this style of binding, and I thought it looked so interesting that I immediately wanted to try it. I will link that down below for you. The account is called Inkslinger Art, and it seems like she came up with this herself, so thank you in case you ever watch this. So we need a panel which has a similar size to our signatures. So I'll cut it down, maybe just 1 millimeter or so more. And then this will be the width. Also like 2 millimeters wider than my page. And I'll cut 2 of these. Now you can decorate or cover your panels with anything you like. I'm going to use fabric, and I'm going to use this one. This one is called Possible, and it's by Seth Apter. It's from the collection Storyboard, and it's also by Free Spirits, which is the same company where Tim Holtz has his fabrics made. So it's gorgeous. So I'll cut 2 pieces that are a little bit wider, maybe about 1.5 centimeters or about 1 inch, bigger on all sides than my panels. And as always, you can find the German fabric store called Quilting for You, linked below this video. That's where I get all of these fabulous fabrics from. Then I'm going to cut away these corners, but I won't cut all the way to the corner. I'm just realizing this is easier once it's glued onto the cover, because then this does not move. So let's do that first. I'm using my fabric glue with a brush that has been in water, which will thin it down just a little bit. Then I'll add that to my whole surface. If you're using a very sheer fabric, make sure that you don't see the panel through if you have a print on it like I do. So then I'll turn this around, make sure there's no wrinkles. And now it's easier to cut those corners away because this is not moving. And then I will glue down all of my edges. I'll do the side ones first. And then I'll tuck the edge in just a little bit. Like that on both sides. Actually, I'll add a bit more glue so that actually sticks. And then I'll fold it over, and that should give us a really nice corner. And we'll do the same thing for the other panel, of course. So once I have both of those covered, I also cut a piece of the same fabric to go over the middle here. So I'll just adhere these in the same way. Again, you can also, of course, just use paper or cardstock. And just make sure it's stuck on all the edges. So I dried these with my heat gun. They are good to go. So these are the outsides, and I think I will use this one for the front. No, it needs to go like this. And then we'll add this one to the back, like that. And now for the binding. So as usual, when I try something new, I'm doing it for the first time together with you, so that when I make a mistake, you don't have to make the same mistake. You can make your own mistakes. You do you, right? So the first thing we need to do is sew our signatures together. So each one will be sewn separately, just on its own, not onto anything else. Let's start by making a template. So we need the same height as our pages. And then, doesn't really matter, I'll take 3, so it's about 3.5 centimeters, let's say 1.5 inches, it really doesn't matter. So let's cut that. And then we want to have 4 holes in our signatures. If this was a bigger journal, like I would usually make A5, that would be double, I would probably use 6 holes. But for this one, we'll do 4. So I'll fold this in half. And using graph paper does make it easier. So from my middle line, I'll go out 2 squares. Each 2 squares is about 1 centimeter. You know what? I'm changing my mind because I'm not sure about the stability of this binding. So I'd rather have 6 holes for this. So I'll do 1 centimeter from the middle, then 2 centimeters and 2 centimeters. I'll do the same thing from the other side. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. So in total I have 6 now. So these are the points I'm going to make my holes with my awl. I like using this piece of styrofoam from packaging. That makes it really easy. And always important to label where your top is. So then I'm going to fold this template right on that line where my holes are. Then I'll make sure that my pages are where I want them to be. I don't necessarily want all of them in the middle. In this case, I think I do because they're all fairly the same size. So basically, I'm doing the same thing I would do if I was just sewing right into the cover. I'm going to keep them in place with a big paper clip. Then I'll add my template and poke right through those holes. And with this binding, it is super important to really have all of your holes of all of your signatures aligned. So I'll do that for all of the 4 signatures. Once we have all our holes poked, we're going to sew them together. I'm going to use this like chocolate brown thread. I chose something that will go well with the cover since we will see the threads on the spine, and I thought this would go pretty well with this here. So as I would normally do, I'm going to take 3 times the height of my pages. Always be sure to pull your thread from the middle, otherwise it will tangle really badly. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm being a bit generous with my measurement. So I need 4 of these. And then we just thread it on the needle, and I'm doing this just like I would with any other journal. So I'm starting from the inside bottom hole. And I'm just going to weave the thread up. So then I'll go in the next hole from the outside in. And then I just weave back and forth until I'm at the top. And then I just weave back down again. So this is a little bit different than what I've seen in the reel. In the reel, she only has 4 holes. And then once you come down at the bottom, at the hole before the last one, you just let go of the needle and you make a double knot. This is for me always the trickiest part. With 2 hands, make it tight enough. Just double check that they're not completely loose. They are a bit wonky. So then we can snip off those ends. And we'll do the same for the other 3 signatures. So this next one turned out a lot more even. Number 3, also a lot straighter than my first one. It's probably because I was doing it on camera. The added pressure. And finally, number 4. Okay, so we have this now. So next we are going to connect these with each other first. So we need strips of some sturdy cardstock. I'm using this, which is a scrap of a vintage file folder, because I think the colors will go really well with my cover. I do want the contrast. And because I made 6 holes now instead of 4, I will have 3 strips instead of 2. So I need to cut these to fit always in between 2 holes. So that will determine the width. And I'm going to cut it just a tiny bit more narrow than my stitches. So it's going to be here. And I'll need 3 of those. And then I'll check the length. They don't all have to be the same length. One is going to go here. So that needs to go around here. Actually, let's check it with the cover. So one goes here. I'm just going to tear mine. You can cut yours if you want. I want both ends torn. Yeah. And so now, having this, I know I want to make the other ones a similar length, but not necessarily the same length. They could all be the same length. It's up to you. Then I'm going to ink those up. I'll use walnut stain again for that. Actually, they seem a bit flimsy. So I'm going to double them up. So I'll glue all these down and then cut them out again. You don't want them too thick because they're going to have to go through that binding, but I also don't want it wobbling too much. I know it's not going to be a sturdy binding like if we would sew it through the cover, obviously, but I do want to give it a little more stability. Okay, they feel a lot better now. And I want to add some more interest, and I'm choosing this stamp here. This is by Carabelle Studio, made in France. This is their website, www.carabelle-studio.fr. I'm not sure what this set is called, but it has the number SA60651. I'll use black archival ink. And I'll just repeat the pattern like that. I'll do the same for all 3. And now this will be the interesting part. So I'll take the covers off. So now we need to thread these through the signatures. I'll take this letter opener to help me. This is tricky. Of course, it looked a lot easier in the reel. And I'm assuming it's going to get more tricky because this is the first one. So I have a little more leeway with the thread. But of course, this makes the rest of these more tight. Oh my goodness. It might be easier. I know what we're going to do. We're going to cut these edges like this. And that should help us get it through because that makes the tip more narrow. Yes. Brilliant. I'm worried about the next two, to be honest. This is working fine for the first one now. So be sure to cut those corners off. Okay, now that was quite easy actually. So we'll do the same thing with the others. Oh, look at that. That's working brilliantly. Oh, wow. Okay, that was really good. Let's see the third one. Yeah, this one is more tricky because it's tighter. Come on, we can do this. Also, I think maybe my strip is too wide. That's why. Okay, I need to cut down this strip. Let's re-ink that. Corner off a bit more. And that should go through better now. Yay! Almost there. Okay, we got it. So now I'm going to re-tear these ends, which is more difficult now because there's 2 layers. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's get the tearing ruler. Let's try it this way. Oh, wow. I mean, it's nice that it's so sturdy. You know what, I'm just going to cut it straight. I think you can hardly see here that it's torn. I could just roughen up the edges after I cut them. Let's take our scissors and just do that. Let's re-ink those. This is so interesting. So now we put the covers back on, like so. And then these bend over the covers. You can still adjust how you want them. And now all we need to do is glue these pieces onto the cover. This is so interesting. Reading the description of the reel, the reason for her to make it like this is because she was so undecided about her signatures, and as long as she didn't glue the covers on, she of course still had the full flexibility of taking the signatures out, working on them, adding a signature, etc. So that totally makes sense. So I'm making sure everything is lined up, and then I can just add glue here. Straightening them a bit. And then we can do the same thing on the other side. Again, making sure that everything is in place. Way too much glue, Barbara, as always. I don't know why I'm so heavy-handed with the glue. So this now needs to dry, and I'll see you back here in a bit. So it's a bit later and these have pretty much dried now. And I am very surprised that this binding is a lot more sturdy than I thought. It hardly wiggles at all, which I was really not expecting. So this is awesome. There's no wiggling. I don't know how it would be if we would just have 2 strips. That might be different, but 3 is brilliant. One thing I see with the amount of pages I have this gator mouth. Even if I lay it down, you can see it's like this, which I'm not a fan of. So I'm going to add this strip of fabric here, which is the same Seth Apter fabric. And I'll just bind that around it. And then just tie that off here. Cut these down. Like that. I think it's really cute. So let's do a flip through. But I do want to add one more final touch. And since this is a Seth Apter fabric, I'm going to add some Seth Apter icing dye spray. Of course, I need my golden splatter, so this is the Gold Mine spray. Feel free to use acrylic paint or watercolors. This is just super easy because I don't have to get out anything or mix anything else. It would help if I could actually aim properly. So this is what it looks like when it's dry, and I love the gold splatters, no surprise there. So let me give you a final flip through. So here we see the binding, which is totally fine. I really like these images, and most of these are totally in my favorite color scheme. Love these images. I think Tina outdid herself with this kit. And it's so fun to pair it with other papers, which then of course makes these images really stand out beautifully. In some journals, I don't like adding pockets, tucks, or belly bands. Sometimes it's nice to just have the pages. And I think it's also really nice to sometimes have a journal which is not super embellished. This gives you more freedom to add what you want later, or not at all. Maybe you just want to add some writing. So here again we see the binding. I am really amazed at how sturdy this is. This is not moving at all. Super cool. These papers are so my vibe. I think they could be confused with some of my papers. And actually some viewers seem to get confused sometimes. So as you know by now, this is a design team project for the Digital Collage Club. The Digital Collage Club is owned by Tina, and it's a membership-based website. I also have my own shop, 49 Dragonflies, which is not membership based, where you can just get single kits. So these are 2 different things. I am a design team member for the Digital Collage Club, and these papers are not in my own shop. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I will also add the measurements of this journal down in the description box because I always get questions about that. Perfection. And I love how well it works together with my grungy dyed papers. the sound of this. I think it's a simple little journal, but how does the saying go? There's beauty in simplicity, and I totally agree. And there we have it, a beautifully crafted journal, rich with autumnal vibes and bound with the unique Inkslinger technique. If you're inspired to try out this binding method or the Digital Collage Club's kit, I'd love to see your creations. Remember, each journal tells a story, and I can't wait to hear yours. Love you guys.
Mwah, mwah.